wonderful, fantastic, lurid, macabre. These are the stories of my life. Unlikely though they might seem, it must be understood that each has its roots in absolute truth. Some of these tales may amaze you. Some may shock you. Some might even horrify you. But whatever the case might be, each is guaranteed to entertain. So sit down to a handsome repast and remember to proceed with caution. Welcome back to yet another Snack and a Story with yours truly. I do hope that you like that new intro. Anyhow, yes, I'm back here again with yet more stories here. As I said, I do have a collection of ideas that I do want to dispense onto you as stories that I think you might find particularly interesting, this being one of them. Anyhow, I need not tessellate any longer, so I may as well show you what I am eating. This is my lunch, some leftover pancakes from the International House of Pancakes, otherwise known as IHOP. And I'll be drinking some water here, some Niagara purified drinking water. So that's my sponsor. Just joking. I don't get paid for any of this. But anyhow, I'm just going to get right into it. I'm going to say a prayer. Bless us, O Lord, and these I gifts which we're about to receive. May the Lord make us free. Amen. And I'm going to cut into this. And then I will get on with the story. So sit back, relax, perhaps maybe grab yourself a snack so you could be eating with me, and enjoy the story. So, I'm not exactly sure when this story takes place. Just like the last one, I'm not entirely sure when it took place. But basically, I suppose I was around, 11 or 12 or so. Back in those days, my brother and I used to frequent this one convention, this local convention, called WonderCon, which is basically a smaller, more affordable and easily accessible version of Comic-Con. Instead of San Diego, it actually takes place in Anaheim, and therefore it's much closer to us and more convenient, I suppose. So we used to go there, and he'd always get me tickets, and his friends tickets as well. We went there a couple times with friends, and just the two of us, and it was great fun in those days. Trying to correct my posture here. I never really dressed up all that much, neither did my brother, although one year, I don't remember what year this was, but I did go as Charlie Chaplin, or what I presume to be Charlie Chaplin, in my bowler hat and such, and that was the only thing that denoted myself being Charlie Chaplin. I didn't really have anything else to suggest that I was him. I just wore my basic attire, just this hat and such, all that. And this was in the early stages of my Fat Lord days. The hair was about shoulder length at this time, so it didn't quite reach down to there. So just that's giving you context as to when this all took place, perhaps. But one year I did go as Charlie Chaplin, and I was recognized by, I don't remember who this was. This lets you know how ignorant I am of many celebrities and such and all that. But I was recognized by this one lady. She was like a model or something or other. I don't remember who she was. But she presumed me to be one of the droogs out of A Clockwork Orange, mainly because of my hat and such, and perhaps the hair too. In fact, I may say I looked more like one of them than I did Charlie Chaplin, and that's probably why she thought that. Anyhow, that has nothing to do with the story at all. Or it might, actually, because I think that was the year that the events of this particular story had transpired, in which I was dressed as Charlie Chaplin. So, at these conventions and such, they do have various people from various films and television programs and all that stuff there. The various actors and actresses and such, they have them at tables and everything, and you get them to sign stuff and all that. You know how conventions work. I don't need to explain to you how they work, but that's basically where we were at this point. We were at a place where there was a whole bunch of those people, and I don't quite remember who all was there because this was so long ago when this happened. God, I'm drooling all over the place. Goodness gracious. I need to learn to swallow my saliva whenever I start talking, because I either drool or spit, expectorate, when I'm engaged in rather passionate exchanges. It's very awful indeed. I don't recommend it whatsoever. Anyway, we were at this area, and we were just walking by and such, and I think at one point, I did buy a King Kong comic book, or graphic novel, whatever it is, of the Peter Jackson movie, and had that signed by the illustrator, which was nice. I don't remember if that was that particular year, though, that happened, but however, the case is, it did happen. But in the midst of our travels, my brother and I came across a rather singular personage, one who stood out among the whole of the crowd, both literally and figuratively. And if you must know who this figure is, this figure was, in fact, the man Peter Mayhew, the late actor, so very famously known for portraying Chewbacca in the Star Wars film series. And so my brother and myself see this man, and he says, "Man, that's Chewbacca up there." And I say, "Yeah, it is." But at the time, I was very socially awkward and didn't necessarily like associating with peoples and such, all that. And then he said, "Why don't we go up there and shake his hand and such, all that? That'd be wonderful." I said, "No, I'm not too sure about that." But the guy looked very imposing too. He keeps spitting everywhere. He was sat in a wheelchair, but he was just all hunched over and such. But he was a big guy. He was like 7'6" or whatever. Looked very imposing, so I can understand why I must have been afraid of and such. But he was just sitting there, minding his own business, just sitting there, whilst I cowered in fear and such, and my brother was just egging me on, saying, come on, let's go up there and shake his hand and such, all that. Let's just do it. We're never going to get this opportunity again. Ultimately, we never did, in fact, interact with Chewbacca. In fact, that day will forever go down in history as the time that I snubbed Chewbacca. Oh man, sometimes I forget that I'm recording and I just carry on just mindlessly just daydreaming. I apologize for that, but yes, I did snub Chewbacca. We did not, in fact, get his autograph or anything, or get to know him at all in any way whatsoever. But we figured that, there'd be other times when that would happen. Also, I think I was maybe 11 at the time, so you could probably understand my fear of this very imposing wheelchaired figure. Anyhow, we kept going to these conventions, but we never saw Chewbacca again. And it got to the point where we just stopped going altogether because I said, okay, listen. I said this about it. Listen, if you don't get any tickets to the actual Comic-Con, then I don't want to go to any more conventions, because I want one of these days to go to an actual Comic-Con, be it San Diego or wherever else. Because WonderCon, it almost seemed like an obligation to me that when April comes around, he said, are we going to WonderCon? And so I said, I guess, I suppose, It became almost a burden to me. So we just decided to stop going when I was around, 15 or so. And we've not been to a convention since. Or at least, I haven't. I don't know about him, but I've not been to a convention since then. Anyway, the reason why this story came to mind is because last year or the year before, what was this? I don't remember when it was that Peter Mayhew passed, but the news came that he did in fact die. And then my brother and I just recollected on that instance, and we were just rather just rueful that we did not, in fact, we could have met Chewbacca, but no, we didn't. I was the one who snubbed him. And, you know, I kind of regret it, but I don't know. That's just how things go in life, you know. When you're young, you're stupid or just fearful. And, you know, you regret a lot of things, this being among them, so... Anyway, that is it for this particular story. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll hopefully continue to enjoy these future installments. Tune in next week to see yet another one of these stories, and myself engaged in eating something else as I tell it. I'm going to go ahead and enjoy this other pancake here that's not been eaten, and I hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you next time. So take care and cheers.